So let's change the question. What is a life without love? What is a life without loving? Here's a statement from a fellow named Lewis in a book called A General Theory of Love. Because mammals need relatedness for their neurophysiology to coalesce correctly, most of what makes a socially functional human comes from connection, the shaping physiological force of love. When an infant is born, there is a natural capacity, when that cord is cut, to orient. And guess what? The mother has the same thing, and the father. And there are hormones that help this stuff, but there's a natural, ingrained sense of orientation. Now that begins to develop more complexity over time. But for a human nervous system, the thing that the Mind Science Foundation is studying, to come to its full fruition, it's very important to understand how it actually begins. How we can move from this sense of physical connection to as if we're having Wi-Fi neurologically between us. And that is sustained by the basic limbic structures in the core of the brain. The more primitive part of the brain begins this simple shift to resonant Wi-Fi. And I call it resonant because there is a capacity for us to begin to resonate. This is what we look for when we connect. When we look, like, is someone seeing us? Do they recognize us? Do they care about us? Are they noticing us? Do we notice them? We seek this automatically. We don't even have to think about it. And when we do connect, it's sort of like when you have your cell phone and you're looking for the little bars. Oh, I've got a good signal. Well, you know when you have a good signal with another human, don't you? You can feel it. And what happens when you have that strong signal is your whole physiology begins to settle. And there is a kind of a physiological, which is neurological, regulation that happens through the connection. As a psychotherapist, there's also one other part that comes to play. When people are dysregulated and have had histories that make it very difficult for them to connect and to resonate because it's been problematic, a new relationship which offers a healthy, strong connection can also help that nervous system revise itself. So these three functions of the limbic system are crucial for us to be able to orient, to connect, and to change our physiology if we're distressed, but if we're an infant, actually to create it. Human beings don't actually... See, there's one of those signals right now. You see? They're all over the place. In fact, the limbic structures are a little bit like your cell phones because imagine if you could measure how many cell phone conversations are going through this room right now. A lot. But why don't you know it? Why don't you pick them all up? You don't have a receiver, right? At least in this, now. Who knows? They may figure it out. And then you can also do Facebook, right? Inside. Limbic structures are receivers. That's what helps us begin to orient. And orient to the most intimate, delicate things in our lives. So this is the practice of turning toward and orienting ourselves towards what's most crucial and most necessary for mammals, and that is to be connected. In the 13th century, there was Zen Master Dogen, who was the founder of the school that I'm ordained in. He brought Chan, which Buddhist practice, to Japan, which became Zen. And he was asked one time, what is the mind of enlightenment? And he said, intimacy with all things. That the awake mind, the fully awake mind, is a capacity for deep intimacy, for connection. Not just intimacy like human intimacy, but to know each thing fully as it is. So limbic structures help us orient, they help us connect, and the practice of turning toward each moment instead of turning away in the ordinary ways that we do to protect ourselves are things that assist us in this intimacy. Because our minds seek one another through limbic resonance, because our physiological rhythms answer to the call of limbic regulation, and because we change one another's brains through limbic revision. What we do inside relationships matters more than any other aspect of human life. If you don't remember anything else from tonight, remember the last part of that quotation. Relationships matter. In fact, if you look back at the teachings that the Buddha was offering, those three things, he was saying that everything is connected in an odd kind of way. Relationships are all there is. But human relationships are the most powerful things that shape us. It's what orients us every day. It's what helps change our internal state for good or ill. And ultimately, it's what revises those places where we're stuck or pained and where we long for care and connection.